I just highly doubt that. I'm gonna find something. So was the wedding, aside from being tired, was good? You know, I haven't even really talked about the wedding that much. I'd actually like to. Since I could actually use a break from this game. My hand's starting to hurt. The wedding was good. Like, it actually was really good. If you check my Twitter feed, I threw a few pictures up from it. And I took a ton of pictures because I was a groomsman. I was a best man sort of thing. It was really good. The thing is like, I got a lot of shit to talk about it too, so don't get me wrong. But it was good, and I gotta stress that, because as much shit as I'm about to talk, I really had a hard time being there. But at the same time, the highs were really, really high. Like, just kind of my personality makes it sort of hard to intermingle with people who aren't into video games. Maybe you guys know what I mean when I say that. It's not that, like, I can't. I get along with everybody in the world. It's just, when I'm with I'm like a very momentary person. When I'm with somebody and I'm talking to them, I can usually keep a conversation going for a while. But I'm talking maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I'm out of shit to say. And, you know, if I'm with dudes that I don't know very well, it kind of hits the bottom of the barrel. It's kind of tough to really strike up conversation, but basically the whole thing was cool. I'm glad I went. My buddy is now hitched. He's like my lifelong pal. He's totally. This is his first and hopefully his only marriage. She's a great chick. She's a great chick. I don't know what else to say. I don't know her that well, but every time I've gone over and hung out with him and hung out with her, she's been nothing but great. So it's cool. It was a fantastic wedding. Casual. It wasn't like a dress code that was like super formal. It was like casual formal. I had a dress shirt with a nice tie that was purple on a gray shirt. You guys, I'll have the pictures and share it with you guys, so you can see how fucking weird I look in a business, in like an actual business type suit. You know, like a proper dressed up. Because you guys only see me in fucking black, which literally is all I wear. I'm not kidding. I just wear nothing but that. I told there was significant weed at the wedding, so. There was some, definitely. There was a ton of booze, and those are both big pluses, huge pluses. The booze were great, and the food was really good too. We had pizza, sandwiches, and we had some like pulled barbecue and shit like that. Let's go ahead and just turn off. There's no reason to have this game going at the moment with the sound. So. Basically, that's what it was. It was fucking barbecue food, which was really good. I had tons of booze. I don't remember a lot of the names. Cream of chamomile. This guy made it. He's like a brewery type of dude or something like that. Like a light amount of it. I just made up the weed thing. Well, there was some there. Trust me, there definitely was. I didn't partake too much because I wanted to kind of keep my cool, but I also drank a lot, and I might have pushed it a little bit a few times, but for the most part, I kept it cool because I didn't want any shit to go down. Cream of chamomile. This dude just kind of whipped it together. He's like a part-time or like like an amateur brewery dude, or he just makes booze or something, and it was actually delicious as fuck. I really liked it. And then I also enjoyed something called Irish Death IPA, which that was good too. And I drank that quite a bit. I remember, I don't really remember the 3 or 4 drinks that were in the middle of those, but I remember capping off the night with a bunch of root beer. That was really good. And I really needed that root beer because holy shit. I was feeling it all over the place because I don't drink that much. I'm a social drinker, and I never really go to parties and shit. So I really just don't drink much. It's very. And then when I do drink, it tends to be like, I don't know, hard liquor mixed with Diet Pepsi or something. I kind of like doing that shit more than, I don't know, IPAs and beer and shit like that. Like, I'm not, I don't care. I'm not like a snob or anything. Just give me some Jack Daniels and Diet Pepsi. I'm fucking good to go. I'll get turned all day on that. So the wedding was cool. However, let me shit talk here because there was some shitty things, and I think the very first and largest part of it was that there was bees everywhere, and wasps. You know, nasty fuckers. There were some nasty ass shit. So the biggest problem I have is I fucking hate bees, and I hate the type that fucking hate me, which are wasps, and they hate everybody. But these guys were all over the place. I mean, there was at least 3 for every section of area that you were at. And I have no idea. I have no idea that they were going to be here. Nobody seemed to have even a clue that bees were going to be around. It's a farm, so you kind of think maybe some shit like that would happen. I expected maybe, here or there, something. But these guys were just all over the place. They were seriously racking up the time spent in our area. I would leave if there was bees. Friendships be damned. I'm not joking. It almost seemed like the guy from Metal Gear, the bee guy, the big bee guy, the Pain from Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, like that guy was around and fucking sending out bees to our place or something. It was fucked up, man. Friendship be damned. It was that. So the high point of that, basically everywhere I went there was some bees full up and around, and that shit just had me, that just pushed me, oh god, I hated it. I couldn't stand it. A couple of times I literally just got up and leave from a table where I was talking to people because I couldn't stand this wasp flying around and going into my drink. It would literally go into my thing of root beer because it's attracted to the sugar. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't stand this. So I would just get up and leave, and I would come back and talk some more. I would try and play it off like I gotta go piss. I just was fucking scared not being anywhere near these wasps. They were just pissing me off. The biggest chunk of problem that happened, I told this before yesterday, but the biggest issue I had came when we had lunch on the day of the wedding. Before we had the wedding and everything, we had some lunch set up for us to eat before the ceremony. And it was a big pile of sandwiches. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm hungry. I'm about to go over to that shit, and there's already like 2 or 3 wasps that are fucking bouncing around that shit. They're already all over our sandwiches. And I'm like, damn, I don't want to deal with that shit. I'm just going to back off and see if they back off. Because I'm bringing this up. I'm like, man, there sure are a lot of bees here, huh? And like, we've got this event organizer girl who is doing this shit and is kind of putting everything out. And she's like, yeah, there are a lot of bees. This is weird. We've never really had a lot of bees before. I'm going to go try and get something to take care of this. And I'm like, yes, that sounds good. I'm going to go in the house where there are significantly less bees, and I'm going to hang out in there. So I hung out in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. I come back out, no bees. I don't see any bees. The sandwich bar is totally clear as far as the eye can see, and I'm just like, I'm too fucking hungry. I got to eat a sandwich. So I go over to the sandwiches. Nobody's there. There's plenty of fucking sandwiches. I move up to the sandwich things, and I look into this plate, this big shallow plate, and I'm like, this looks good. There ain't a damn thing in sight. I'm going to grab the biggest sandwich I see, and I'm going to take it. Reach into the center of the bowl. You feel me? I grab that fucking sandwich, and as soon as I pull back that sandwich, a big wave of flies came flying out. Like maybe 7 or 8 of them. I'm not kidding. It was quite a few flies. Fucking just flopped right out of that sandwich bowl. I couldn't believe it. And 3 wasps that were there before, I spotted them crawling out. They weren't even flying. They were crawling out on top of the sandwiches now. It was like that shit was waiting for me. It was like a Resident Evil scene or some shit. I grabbed the sandwich and they all just flood out of there like crazy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just wanted a damn sandwich. I grab the sandwich, shit my pants, get out of there before anything can fucking sting me or some shit. And as soon as I do this old woman behind me is like, yeah, I expected that to happen. Somebody really ought to put some tinfoil on that thing. I'm like, this is fucked up, but I had the sandwich in my hand. It was just freshly covered in flies and wasps, and I had this sandwich in my hand. It was a ham and beef sandwich with cheddar cheese and lettuce and mayo. And I looked at this shit. I opened it up to make sure there was nothing inside, and I fucking ate that shit. I ate that sandwich. I was so goddamn hungry. I was so hungry. I just ate a big sandwich that was covered in flies and wasps. It literally was like something from Resident Evil. I couldn't believe it, but I was fucking hungry. Ugh, if it was my Wemmy, I call it off. There were wasps and bees. Yeah, it was fucked up, man. It ruined everything. It really, like, it was just a perpetual problem. They would follow you everywhere. We had at least 3 or 4 people stung, and the main bride's lady, I was on like wasp duty for a couple of minutes where she was trying to get some shit done, but there's like a couple of wasps that literally were trying to go up her dress. And I'm just like, hey, you got some bees down there. You know, I'm like kind of pointing down like, you got some buggos down there. And at first she was like, are you trying to make like a joke, like a sex joke? Like, I don't get it. I'm like, no, you fucking got wasps on your leg. Like, I was trying to cut it to her gently, right? I don't want to say, dear God, there's a fucking killer bee on your leg. I don't want to freak her out. So I'm just like, there's some buggos down there underneath the old craw, you know? And she's like, what? What are you... But eventually I'm just like, dude, there's a bee on your fucking thigh. And she's like, oh, fuck. It was, you know, she just swaps that shit around. She's like, God damn, these bees. It was really awful. It was really awful. So that's problem one. The bees were definitely the biggest problem. If you erase the bees, like, that was the biggest problem. The second problem I had was I had to bunk. I had to bunk with this dude. This dude was cool, all right? Don't get me wrong. He was a cool guy. I loved hanging out with him. I loved talking to him. He was a big fucking Snorlax kind of guy, though. He was big. He was cool as shit, but he was Snorlax big, all right? Now, I got to bunk with him downstairs. We had 2 beds, and we each got our own bed, but we were in the same room. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry if I snore, man. My friends say I snore a little bit. He's like, don't worry about it, man. It's cool. You know, he was a cool, chill guy. If Snorlax had a personality, I would hope that this guy would be it, because this guy was cool as hell. But you get where I'm getting with this. This guy was huge, and then when he went to bed, the dude snored like a wildebeest. I couldn't believe it. It was the loudest snore, and I told him before I usually sleep with a fan because I like the noise and I like it being cold. It was sufficiently cold downstairs. But as cold as it wasn't very noisy until he started snoring. And the snoring reverberated off the fucking walls and shit. It was like a helicopter crashing or something. It was insane. I've never heard a guy snore like that. It was disturbingly loud. It was disturbingly loud, is all I can say. It kept me up initially, but after a while, it started to die down a little bit. And it became kind of like a fan to me in that I kind of relied on the sound to help me rhythmically fall asleep. So I fell asleep to this guy's loud-ass snoring. And I actually hope he never sees this video. I don't think he even knows I stream, I hope. I don't want him to feel offended. I'm sure I snore like a motherfucker too. It's just, this is my experience of being there. That's all I could do. I think he's a wonderful dude. I mean, I seriously loved hanging out with the guy. But yeah, that snoring was some crazy shit. That was pretty crazy, and it made sleeping that day super fucking hard. Super hard. If you swat the bee wasps, don't they get pissed off and come after you? They do get pissed off. They really do. We had this guy like take a wasp and put a jar on it, and that thing started stinging like the floor and the jar itself. It was just going crazy, stinging everything. And we knew that a problem was forming because after a couple minutes of watching this bee go crazy, 3 other bees started coming around and were snooping out the place. So this wasp was like shitting in the jar or something, and the smell of that panic shit and stinging brought out 3 other wasps who I think were looking to fuck some shit up. So we grabbed that jar that had the wasp in it and we like threw it way out into the field and released it way out somewhere else, and in just a vain hope that it would never return. It did take with it the other 3 wasps that showed up. Of course, all these wasps came back later, but they weren't looking to fuck anybody up. They were looking to eat our food, is basically what they were trying to do. Yeah, shit was crazy. So, the snoring thing really kept me awake. The bees were fucking crazy. I think the last, like, not social problem, and I'll talk about my social issue also, just to give you guys an insight on what it's like in my own head. Wildlife was really abundant at this place. This farm is a farm, so there's wildlife. There were literally goats across the way and some pigs, and I got to chill out with some goats and pigs while I was there. Really cool animals, but at the same time, it's like, man, this is really a fucking farm, right? This is where a wedding's at? This is kind of weird. So the place was very pro-wildlife. There was a lot of things just kind of running around. Nothing too crazy. There was a cool cat that would show up and I could pet it and shit, and it would hunt mice and stuff. That was kind of dope. But really, this was a weird point when I left on Saturday night, because I'm a nighttime guy, and even though I had woke up at 8 o'clock that day, around 11 o'clock or midnight when that hit, and I was at the farm, I was like, shit, I'm awake, and it's gonna take me 3 hours to get home. I'm just gonna go home tonight, which was Saturday night, rather than wake up at 8 o'clock again on Sunday morning and have to drive home, which is going to be awful because I'm going to be totally exhausted. I'm going to be groggy and shit. I don't want to do it. So I let them all know that I'm just going to go home Saturday night. I let them all know. I say my goodbyes and shit, and I go pack up downstairs again. While I'm packing some shit up, I've never seen like anything like this. I'm packing some shit up, and I'm just about done. I go get my shoes. I put my shoes on, and then I notice to the left of the room, inside the room, like maybe not even a foot away from my bed, is, I think, a gecko. I think it's a gecko, like from Fallout, those mutated, irradiated geckos, or like the Geico commercial gecko, the green one. There was a gecko, at least I think it was, sitting on the floor of my bedroom, my downstairs bedroom, about maybe a not very large, maybe about as big as my hand or palm in here, about that size. Really not that big, but it was a lizard chilling next to my bed. And I was like, wow, there's a lizard in my room. I've never had that. I've never slept in a place where a lizard just kind of shows up and chills out in my bedroom. That was really weird. Thankfully, it's just a lizard, right? I don't have a fear of lizards. It wasn't a big lizard. It wasn't like a fucking iguana or some shit. I think it was just a gecko. It was just like a hand-sized gecko or something. I actually picked it up on a piece of paper, and it was pretty chill. It just hung out. But it really just put a point on, like, this farm is totally, like, wildlife central. It's just wildlife central. There's a lot of wildlife in this fucking farm. I couldn't quite believe it, because it was just like, why? This is a wedding. We're supposed to be, having a wedding. kind of civilized, kind of dressed well, kind of nice. We're looking good. But we're in a scene where, like, we should be wearing overalls. We should be having pitchfork, haystacks, and overalls. And this little iguana guy is just kind of there as a reminder of, if I had slept that night downstairs again, maybe that little guy would have been on my ball sack or something. I would have woke up to getting jerked off by a gecko. I don't know. I don't know, man. That gecko might have tried to take my virginity. I wouldn't have liked that. I would not have wanted to give it to a lizard. So that shit was just really fucked up. I don't know. It was fucked up. The bees, the snoring, and the gecko. Yeah. So the last... I haven't talked about this wedding shit, so I really appreciate listening to me drone on about this. This is the only time I've ever done this. I've only been to one other wedding, and it was a very proper church-like wedding that was very nice. But I was only there for like half a day, and I just wore a nice suit, a tux or something, and I was out. I was a groomsman here. I was an actual, participant of the ceremony on this one, so it was really new to me. So I had a lot to say about it. I'm not gonna lie, this is more fun than the game. Yeah, well, maybe it is. The last thing, and this is something that maybe I could use your guys' opinion on here. This might, maybe you guys know what I'm talking about when I talk about it. I like talking to people. I love streaming because I can talk to you guys about my games while I'm playing them. And I love video games, and I love talking to people, and so this shit really works out. This is why I get a boner doing streaming. That's my two-pronged attack. I play games, and I can share / talk about them with random dudes who join the chat. That's my mindset. Like, I love being here, I love playing games, and I love what I do. I don't like my Walgreens work, but I don't care about my Walgreens work. That's just money to fuel what I do when I'm here. So, when I'm at this wedding, like, my friend my good bestest buddy, he is a successful man. Like, he's an accountant. He makes plenty of money. He owns like a Miata that is only a couple years old. He's leased it for a lot of money. His girl is pretty damn successful too. I think she's like a secretary, but she's like a high-ranking secretary. They both pull down really good money, way more than anything I'll ever make. I could promise you that. I will never make as much money as either of those two. He is successful, and every friend that I have is like him. They went to college. I never went to college. They do successful things either with or without their college degrees. They just do successful things. And I don't mean to say like, oh, all his friends are friends he met in college. A lot of them were. But there's at least 4 or 5 dudes that I grew up with that are very good friends of mine. They're just as successful. One of them is a fucking dude who goes around Germany telling people who invent shit how they could take that invention and turn it into something that people could actually use. So, like, somebody will invent a machine that can jerk off a cow. And he'd be like, hey, this is a pretty cool machine. If you modulate it to do this and that, not only can it jerk off your cows for you, it can jerk off a cow's udders and produce milk better. Now you've got more of a market here for your product. You can jerk off cows and milk them, perhaps even at the same time. This is now a more involving machine. Its capabilities and is better and larger and more involving. He does that shit. He runs around the world and tells people how their masturbation machines could be used to serve man better. And he get paid mucho money for this. The other guy is like oh god, I don't even know what he is. He's bought like 2 or 3 houses by now. He buys fucking houses. Like these guys are seriously good at making money. I don't know why it is. In the one case, for one guy, he had a horrible childhood where he lived in poverty and his dad was an asshole. So he wanted to not be either of those two things. And he solved one of them simply by not being an asshole. And the other one he solved by just making a shitload of money, and that's what he does. He just makes a shitload of money. He loves it. He loves making money. Everybody who was there, whether they were my childhood friends or whether they were friends my main friend met at college, are wildly successful people. So here comes me. My balding fucking forehead. You know, overweight as hell. Never really been to this type of thing. I never even go outdoors if I can help it. Hanging out with 100 people or more. All of which are wildly successful. And all of which are able to talk about shit that I can't even begin to comprehend. They're talking about financing homes. They're talking about their workplace experiences. They're talking about politics. You know, like real adult shit. They're talking about real adult shit. One of these dudes was a science teacher for high school. And he was the only guy I could really chill out and talk to because he was interested in video games as a high school science class teacher. And I was kind of thinking, well, maybe he is successful. He is definitely successful. But a teacher isn't going to be making bank like all these other people. So maybe I have something a little bit more in relation with this dude. Not saying I'm going to be making that kind of money. But I'm just saying that perhaps his goal in life is different. I talk to him a lot. He's a really cool dude. The thing is like, I try and talk to everybody there, right? It's hard to do it because they don't care about video games. They don't care about fighting games. Like, I can't talk about how much I enjoyed Evo, or how much I played Tekken 7, what I think about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I can't talk about it. And so I'm kind of left with this weird sort of scenario about, like, you know, what do you do, man? And he's like, well, I fucking, I drive around the country and direct automobile sales. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And he's like, yeah, what do you do, man? I'm like, I work out of Walgreens. and I talk about my dick on the internet while I play video games. And the guy's like, huh, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to go hang out with all these other guys. You know, it's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel really, really lost. There's this comic online where, like, there's this really sad-looking dude. It's all over 4chan. There's a sad-looking dude sitting in the corner of a party, and it says shit like, my feet hurt, I wish I was home playing video games, that guy is wearing some stupid shit, that chick is hot, but she's not gonna look at me. It felt like a real-life version of something like that. I wasn't wishing that I wasn't there. It was more of the fact that a lot of the time I'm sitting in a chair or I'm hanging out somewhere and I don't have any way of contributing to the social conversation that's going around. It's really difficult to breach that. That was a lot of my experience when I was there, is just trying to find like a middle ground between all these people, you know? Like, how do I talk to them? A lot of them are either relatives of my buddy who's getting, you know, married that day, or maybe relatives of the girl who's getting married. At the same time, they were also relatives of other friends that I have that I'd never met before. Some of them are dudes that I didn't meet before. And that was kind of nice, too. It was nice catching up on all these people that I kind of grew up with as a kid. But a lot more of them were people that I never knew. And it was really, really difficult connecting with them and talking and just kind of naturally evolving any kind of discussion, because a lot of it was about shit I just didn't know anything about. It was difficult. It was a very difficult time. And on top of that, like, all these people love being outside, and I'm sitting there like, it's sunny today, there's a nice cool breeze, but the sun is coming down and burning my bald spot. A lizard tried to jerk me off last night. I fucking had to sleep through this guy snoring. Sounded like an helicopter was crashing. I mean, it was... And then the fucking bees and the flies all over the place. It was weird. And all that while, you know, there's like these fucking party games that are out there, and I don't want to play any of them because I'm a fat ass, and I don't want to sit there throwing like a little dodgeball into a trash can just so I can go drink. I could just go drink without doing that part. It was just weird. Okay, so, like, it was just that really difficult thing of melding with people, right? I don't know if you guys have that problem, but I do have that problem of us trying to... I have a good impression of people. I like to think people enjoy my company, but it's a very short-term thing. I can only talk to them so long about something. I don't know anything in depth. I'm aware of shit, but I can't really discuss anything other than video games. That's just all I really know. Consider following the news more. Doesn't require higher education. I mean, I could. I'm aware of things that happen on the news. I just, like, if you were to tell me what Donald Trump has been up to lately, I honestly couldn't tell you. I'd be like, he has something to do with the border. He told Korea to go fuck itself, which I think he is probably a bad idea, but I also think Korea should go fuck itself, so I'm kind of on a mixed bag on that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's... You could talk about things on a high level. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I have that capacity. Like, even if I do read the news, I'm just going to forget about that shit. You know me, I don't like even reading. It's like a running joke around here. I don't like to read. It's hard enough reading your guys' fucking chat. I know about a lot of things. I can carry on a high-level conversation, but I hardly know about things really in depth. That's the thing. Like, I don't even have that. And it's not like I really want it either. Like, I'm happy doing the things I do. I do and still have that problem. I mean, I guess it is something relatable. It feels... It's not really something that I feel I can overcome, only because I like the way that I do things. I love my video games. I love playing my video games and knowing about my video games. I don't feel like I have a lot of space left in here for just about anything else. Like, I do my job, I get by in life, and I'm aware of shit that goes on in the world, but largely... I save a lot of this brain space for, you know, figuring out how to do shit like this, right? Like, this is what I would rather be doing. I'd rather learn how to do weird shit like this. And, as you can see, I still need to learn how to do it. But I would rather get the muscle memory to do shit like this. Because it's fun as hell. It's fun as hell to me. I would rather know that than... what the hell Donald Trump tweeted last night and the ramifications of it on our economy. You know, that's kind of what I mean. Ugh. So the wedding was great. The wedding was really good. Like, I don't want to shit talk. Those things that I shit talk, that's because it's in my nature to talk shit, all right? Especially on the stream. That's what I do. That's what you guys do. But the wedding in general was great. I'm glad I went. I'm happy I went. I met a lot of cool people. And even though I had a ton of time where I was just sitting kind of like, I don't know, I didn't really have anything I wanted to do. There was no internet, man. Oh, man, that's another big thing. There was no internet. The wireless did not work very well. The Wi-Fi would not stretch outside of the home, and we had our party up at the barn, so I had like no wireless. My connection to Verizon, nowhere in sight. There was absolutely no coverage at all anywhere on that farm. I almost got lost getting out of that farm because I needed Google Maps to get home. I use Google Maps all the time. I had no reception. It would not work at the farm. I had to ask the chick, how do I get out of here? She said, go that way, take a left, and then some convoluted shit I don't remember. And I was like, okay, cool. I got out of the farm, I took a left, and prayed to God that I would get reception enough that my maps would work, and it did. After 5 minutes of driving, it just kicked in just enough for my Google Maps to get me to I-5 North. And then when I was on I-5 North, it's a smooth sail for another 2.5 hours until I hit home. Until I get back up to Everett. It was unacceptable. It was unacceptable. It was the worst fucking thing. Not having any internet, my phone had absolutely no service, and I have unlimited with Verizon. I could fuck off as much as I want with my Verizon service. I just couldn't because I couldn't have my service. It wasn't available. It was terrible. The one Wi-Fi that they had required a forced login on Facebook, and even if you did that, it blocked certain sites. I couldn't go look up porn. I couldn't go look up something awful. I couldn't go look up 4chan if I wanted. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hit up any of my porn sites. I couldn't see anything about video games. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible on the internet front. And you know me, I needed my internet. Same time, most of the time, I was able to find people, and I played a little bit of card games. Played something called Roll For It. It was like kind of a cool game. Like, you just have some dice, you roll, and you try and match what's on the card. We played Cards Against Humanity, which honestly I think is kind of a dumb game. It's basically who got the dead baby fetuses card, or whatever weird ass shit. I hated that. I hated that game, honestly. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was kind of dumb. It was just like, what random sentence can you construct? It was like Mad Libs, but in a card game form. I don't know. It was childish humor, but I would find things to do. It's just not having internet sucked. Not having internet sucked. The bees sucked. The food was good, but not sleeping sucked. Oh man, not sleeping sucked. And I'm a nighttime guy, and I had to do morning things. Anyways, it was not a bad wedding. It was a good wedding. In fact, it was probably a great wedding. It's just, for me, I'm not an outside guy, and I felt like I didn't really bring the heat as far as my charismatic ways with people. Usually I'm pretty good hanging out with dudes and chicks and just having a good time. I'm generally pretty good at that. But the environment was so awkward. It had me outside. I was insanely uncomfortable and surrounded by bees. It was fucking hard to be charming in that situation. It was really, really hard to be charming. Really hard. Really, really, really hard. I pulled it off, though. I think I had a good time. I think I had a good time. And when nighttime rolled around, we had this cool bonfire outside the barn. Propane little burner. It was really cool. Like, we just sat around it and smoked weed and cigars. We drank, smoked weed and cigars. It was really nice. It was really nice. That will definitely be something that I remember for a long time, especially because I sat next to a cute chick who was married, but her husband wasn't there at the time, and she was a cute chick, so it was kind of fun. But yeah, that was the wedding. Thank you very much for hanging out and listening to me rant on that. Let's, I don't know, I'm just gonna mash on some more combos here. I gotta figure out some other shit to do. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm glad it was